I raised my nephew like a son. Now my sister wants him back because he's successful. Update. I didn't sugarcoat it. No, buddy, she's not. His decision. The next week, he blocked her, deleted her number, removed her from Instagram, sent a one-line email. I've decided not to continue a relationship. Please respect my space. Mason, she replied, of course. 6 paragraphs of guilt, blame, and twisted self-praise. The last line, I hope you're happy with the lies you've been told. I'll always be your real mother. He didn't answer. Neither did I, but I printed it, in case she ever tries again. But I still hurt for him. He made the choice, the right choice. There's a certain quiet that settles in after someone makes the right, but painful decision. That's where Mason and I were for about a month after he blocked Casey. No drama, no new letters, no awkward messages from fake Instagram burner accounts. For once, silence felt like relief. But silence doesn't mean peace when you're dealing with someone like Casey. Because someone like her, she doesn't let go. She waits, and then she retaliates. I thought we were finally moving on. Mason seemed lighter, not exactly happy. Grief takes time, but more present. He stopped checking his phone as much. His voice didn't tighten every time someone brought up their mom. He threw himself into school, his internship, his hobbies. He even started dating again. Nothing serious, but enough that he came home one weekend with flowers for the girl and a sheepish smile that said, "Don't ask questions." It made me stupidly happy. I thought we'd finally reached the part of the story where life starts feeling stable, safe. I was wrong. The fake account. It started small. An anonymous Reddit account started replying to one of my older posts, one I'd made years ago in a parenting forum asking for advice about raising Mason. The replies were weird, aggressive, accusatory. You're not his father. You stole someone's child. Bet you love being a hero, huh? Real narcissist energy. The username was something generic, but the comments were oddly specific. Details no stranger would know. Then it escalated to Facebook. A concerned friend messaged one of Mason's professors claiming I was emotionally abusive, controlling, and had isolated Mason from his real family. Mason found out when his advisor pulled him aside for a wellness check. And then I found out when Child Protective Services, the same office that once approved me for kinship guardianship, showed up at my door asking questions about my home environment, even though Mason no longer lived with me full-time. The CPS visit was humiliating and familiar. I hadn't felt that kind of dread in years. Not since the early days, when I was just trying to keep Mason while scrambling to figure out how to raise him. Back then, CPS visits were routine. Stressful, but manageable. This one felt different. It felt like I was being hunted. The social worker, a young guy who looked barely old enough to drink, was polite but firm. "We've received an anonymous tip," he said. "Multiple tips, actually over the past 3 weeks." He asked if I ever struck Mason, if I ever withheld food, if I screamed at him, if I discouraged him from contacting his biological relatives. I told him the truth. I even gave him the court documents from when I got custody, the therapist reports, Mason's letters of support. After a 2-hour interview and a walk through my home, he left. "I don't see anything alarming here," he said, "but we still have to document everything. If anything new comes in, we're required to reopen the case." I nodded, but my heart was pounding like a jackhammer. I called Mason immediately. He picked up on the first ring. "Did she do something again?" he asked, instantly alert. I told him about CPS. He went silent. Then, "She's trying to make it look like you damaged me." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. We both knew it was her. The timing, the content, the tone, it all screamed Casey. She's weaponizing the system. I finally said. He laughed bitterly. "Of course she is. When she couldn't guilt me, she tried to guilt them." And then he said something I didn't expect. "I want to go public." The post that broke the internet and our family. Mason wrote it himself. He posted to Reddit, r/true off my chest, of all places. Titled it, "My birth mom tried to reclaim me after 18 years. I said no. Now she's trying to destroy the man who raised me. It was long, honest, raw, brutal in some parts. He didn't name names, but the story was unmistakably ours. He talked about being left behind, about the trauma, the years of silence, the reappearance, the manipulation, the letters, the pressure, the guilt, and finally, the smear campaign. And he ended it with this. If you're reading this and wondering if you have the right to walk away from someone who hurt you, even if they share your blood, you do. Family isn't DNA. It's choice. It's consistency. It's love, even when it's hard. My uncle didn't choose to be a parent, but he chose me every single day. And I'll never forget that. The post exploded. Within 48 hours, it had 35,000 upvotes and over 5,000 comments. News outlets reached out. Podcasts. Strangers sent messages of support. Other people shared their own estranged parent horror stories. And then, Casey found it. Her reaction was predictably unhinged. First, she tried to deny it. She posted a passive-aggressive response on her own social media. Funny how people believe everything they read online these days. Kids are so dramatic. Some people can't let the past go, even when you try to make amends. Then she made a video. Yes, a video. Crying on TikTok. Sitting in her car, saying she just wanted a relationship with a son she carried for 9 months, and that he's being poisoned by hateful relatives. The comments didn't go the way she expected. People recognized the story, called her out. Some even posted screenshots of her earlier posts on parenting forums, bragging about getting her life back when she gave up her kid. Others compared the timestamps. The supposed rehab timeline didn't line up with her sudden real estate ventures. She turned the comments off within 24 hours, then deleted the video, then her account. But it wasn't over. The final confrontation. She showed up, again, at my house this time, not Mason's. She came alone. No fiancé, no camera, no filter, just rage. You've brainwashed him, she spat, standing in my driveway with her arms crossed like she had a right to be there. You turned him against me. You stole him. I didn't say anything at first, just stared. You think you're a saint? She hissed. You think raising someone else's kid makes you a hero? No, I said calmly. But I showed up. You didn't. That's the difference. Her face twisted. I had problems. I wasn't ready. And instead of fixing them, you left. That kid cried for you every night for years. I had to lie and tell him you'd come back, that you cared. She blinked. That's not fair, she whispered. I was sick. Then you should have stayed gone, I said. You had a second chance. You could have reached out with honesty. But instead, you waited until he was successful, then tried to gaslight us both. And then, because I needed to say it for myself, I added, he's not your son. Not anymore. He's the man he chose to be. And he chose me, too. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there for a minute, then turned, got in her car, and drove away. A year later, peace mostly. It's been a full year since the confrontation. Mason's about to graduate early, top of his class. He's already got job offers from 2 major tech companies. He's thriving, stable, grounded. We still talk every day. Sometimes about stupid things. Sometimes about deep things. Sometimes just to check in. He's still in therapy. Still working through the damage. But he's okay. And Casey? We haven't heard from her since that day. No letters. No more CPS reports. No dramatic TikToks. Nothing. I don't know if she's finally let go or just waiting for the next opportunity to twist the narrative. But it doesn't matter, because Mason doesn't belong to her story anymore. He's writing his own now. Final thought. I'm not a perfect man. I made 1,000 mistakes raising that boy. I lost sleep. I lost friends. I sacrificed time, money, and parts of myself I'll never get back. But I'd do it all again. Because when everyone else walked away, I stayed. It's been 10 years since Mason graduated college and cut ties with Casey for good. 10 years since the confrontation in my driveway. Since she looked me in the eye and tried to rewrite the past as if love were a prize she had every right to claim. I haven't seen her since. Neither has Mason. And honestly, I'm okay with that. We've stopped expecting apologies from people who will never give them. We stopped building doors for people who walked out. And instead, we built something better. A life of our own. He's not a kid anymore. Mason's 28 now. God, just writing that feels surreal. I still see flashes of the toddler who clung to my leg in grocery stores and mispronounced spaghetti as buttgetty. Now he's a full-grown man with a career, a condo, a serious partner, and a dog that's somehow louder than a lawnmower. He owns furniture that doesn't come in a box. He knows how to do his taxes. He even calls me for advice. And this fall, he's getting married. Her name's Jamie. Smart, kind, funny in the dry, sarcastic way that fits Mason's quiet intensity like a puzzle piece. They've been together for 5 years. She knows everything about his past. She's never once questioned how close we are, never asked why his uncle feels more like a father. She told me once privately, "He talks about you like you're the reason he made it, like you're gravity." I didn't know what to say. Still don't. About 6 months ago, we had the talk we've been avoiding for years. Mason and I were sitting on my back porch, drinking coffee like we've done 100 times. He was scrolling through guest lists and mumbling about seating charts when he suddenly stopped. "I need to ask you something," he said. I already knew. "Do you want her there?" I asked careful. He hesitated, then shook his head. "I used to think I wanted to see this. Like, look what you missed. But now, I don't care anymore. She doesn't belong in this part of my life." I nodded, letting the silence stretch. "She's not the wound anymore," he added quietly. "She's just a scar." That line stuck with me. A scar, not a shadow. A few weeks later, Mason told me he wrote her a letter, not to reopen anything, not to reconcile, just to close the door. He didn't show it to me. Said it was for him more than her. But he gave me the envelope and asked me to hold on to it until after the wedding, in case she tried to show up or contact someone else. She never did. I mailed it the day after the honeymoon. No return address. Just his handwriting, steady and sure in the words, "No forwarding address." That was the last thread. He tied it off himself. We don't talk about her much anymore. Not out of anger. Just absence. She's not relevant to who we are now. Sometimes people ask Mason if he's ever going to try to reconnect. He always says the same thing, calm and polite. "She's part of my story, not my life." I admire how cleanly he can say it. How he's found peace without needing revenge, without needing validation. Me, I'm still working on it. Sometimes I catch myself getting angry on his behalf, wondering how anyone could leave a child and then come back just for the victory lap. But then I look at him, at who he's become, and the anger fades. She missed out. That's her legacy. Mine? I got to raise him. Last month, Jamie surprised Mason with something for his birthday. A framed collage of childhood pictures. Baby Mason, school-aged Mason, college Mason, all of it. In the center was a handwritten quote she copied from one of his old notebooks. Something he wrote during a therapy session years ago. "I didn't grow from roots. I grew from hand that held me." Underneath, in bold, "For the man who never let go, Dad." I didn't cry in front of them, but I did later, because that was the first time, unprompted, in writing, Mason called me Dad. What I've learned. If you've read this far, across 4 long, messy chapters of my family drama, here's what I want to leave you with. Family isn't who made you. It's who raised you, who fought for you, who stayed. You don't owe someone access to your life just because they share your blood. Forgiveness and boundaries can coexist. You can let go without letting someone back in. And sometimes, love doesn't look like a storybook. Sometimes it looks like showing up quietly every day and never leaving. Mason's not just my nephew. He's my son. Not by law, not by blood, but by every scrape knee, every school project, every heartbreak, every bedtime story, every moment he didn't know what he needed, and I showed up anyway. I used to think love was about grand gestures. Now I know it's about consistency. And in the end, that's what made us a family. I see it in the way he looks at family photos, the way he goes quiet when someone talks about their mom, the way he still asks sometimes, "Did I do the right thing?" And every time I tell him the truth. You didn't walk away. She did. You just stopped waiting at the door.